What's up guys, it's Pio here, and today I'll be showing you the different approaches to A short for Inferno CT side. In this video, I'll be breaking down the spots, setups, and utility usage for short A. So let's get started. Short or porch side is one of the most high impact positions for CT Inferno. You will be getting a considerable amount of engagements whenever the Ts decide to execute on A or control mid brackets. Another thing is that you have multiple options to hold or make plays from, which you can use to get favorable looks. So when you approach a specific spot, be it for CT or T side, you have to understand the importance of varying your playstyle to be dynamic. Having this variation keeps you one step ahead of your opponents and prevents you from getting read and countered. As a CT, you do this by switching up the spots and angles that you play. Here are just a few spots you can choose from to be dynamic. A common way to hold short would be from lane right here. You can crossfire with your arch player, and you can also have a bait setup where either side of mid will take first contact while the other peeks off of it. Though it is worth keeping in mind that these crossfire and bait setups can easily be broken when the T smoke either side of mid or use their mollies on either short or long. When that happens, you'll be left on an island. It is more practical to fall back into site and work with your Apts or pit player. As you fall back, you can play this angle, take a few shots, then retreat deeper into site. The same philosophy applies when you play lane with an op. You can post up on boiler or top mid. If the T smoke arch and take brackets, you take that first shot, then you make your way back into site. You take another shot, then you leave. On the topic of holding from lane, you can also pivot around this pillar to pick fights on mid and boiler. This pillar is a tough angle to clear, and the T has to swing all the way down boiler to catch you. You can also hold this tight angle on boiler from around the haystack. I would not recommend overstaying in lane itself when the Ts are already out in brackets. You don't have much cover, and you can easily get trade frag. Though in certain situations, you can stay in lane if your team is planning on retaking and contesting bracket control. Moving over to our next spot, quad. Compared to playing lane, this spot is more committed to fighting brackets. When the Ts come out and you take contact, you don't have that luxury to run back into site. Regardless, quad is still a strong spot when used situationally. Here, you can even tuck yourself in this corner. With this, you can dodge the mid flashes and play off of your teammates' contact and utility. It is also difficult to properly clear quad without using grenades. By the time the T can fully clear the quad corner, he's made himself highly vulnerable to the arch player. As a bonus, you can Popflash like this over the roof and it gets the T coming out of bracket. When you throw this flash, make sure to call it properly as it can also blind your teammates. Playing inside quad has its downsides however. It only takes this molly to flush you out of position. Also, if the Ts throw a molly for lane, it isolates any possible porch setups. In this situation, you pretty much have to fight brackets, or tank, or smoke the molly. If you do try to escape though, you still risk getting killed in transition. Alternatively, you can boost on top of quad like this. This is a good spot because the Ts generally don't pre-aim or molly this spot unless they have a read or know your tendencies. From here, you can do one of two things. You can play anti-flash while your teammate takes first contact from short or arch. Or you can be the first contact while your teammate waits on their quad or arch kabi. So it is important to communicate to your team who's doing which. If the T smoke short and go arch, you can actually see over the smoke and spam them. This works better if you have an M4 A1S. When you get boosted on top of quad or play one and done positions in general, it is more logical to use your grenades early or have your teammate use them. Why is that, you may ask? Well, first you can use the grenades to mask that you are going for this type of play. Another thing is that when you are set up in a one and done, you would want to keep the element of surprise. By using grenades, you will just give sound cues. Once your position is revealed though, you could get pre-fired, mollied, or even wallbanged. So you essentially have your gun out the whole time, which greatly limits your opportunity to use your grenades. So in essence, use your grenades early or drop them to your teammate. Continuing on, another possible boost you can do would be to this Apts ledge. You can do this with a skill jump, although quite difficult. But to get to this spot easier, you can have your Apts player boost you from this haystack. Playing this ledge is a strong off angle that can catch the T walking down boiler. And if you move forward, you can also spot top mid. As for playing in brackets itself, you can get above this wood pallet to watch either boiler or top mid. It's also a one and done to kill an unsuspecting T. Let's now go over the CT setups and how to play accordingly. Aside from your usual crossfire setup, you can sometimes double up on A short. This is a strong adaptive play if the T's have a strong tendency to just smoke arch, then force their way into short. In this setup, you have the option of doing a bait setup on lane and quad, or just fighting together as the T's push out. Though the downside of having this setup is you don't have a fast rotation to B, and you are vulnerable to a CT ramp. If the T's rarely go for Apts control, you can also gamble a triple short setup. The premise is similar to the previous setup, but the main difference is that you are prioritizing mid over Apts control. If your team is putting 3B to get full banana, then 2A, it is advisable to play from lane so you can retreat into site or mini pit. You would want to be more passive in brackets because once the T's figure out the 3B setup, they are likely to hit A and mid fast. Use your grenades if you have to, but don't overcommit on brackets. Dying solo on brackets is detrimental and you leave your Apps player to solo hold a site. So after falling back, you can have this crossfire from site and pit, which is decent. But the disadvantage is that there's a gap on the arch side. You have to be mindful that an arch trap could happen. Alternatively, you and your other A player can have this big and mini pit setup. You establish a crossfire onto short, and you can also watch arch trap should it happen. If your team is on a default 3A2B and you lose or give up bracket control, the reactive play would be to turtle up on site and have a crossfire with your pit or back player. Granted that it is still early into the round, you can jiggle from this spot with a rifle or post up with an op. But once the T's have Apps control, you are exposed and you should fall back. You can hold from backside box and use this pillar to your advantage. By playing further to the left, the T's can't clear you unless they fully swing out. By then, they are open to the pit player. You can also play Ninja Box, Cold Zera, or behind default. And if you have a smoke, you can force the T's to freeze or change their pathing. So far I've talked about contesting and also giving up bracket control. Your team isn't limited to these two options because you can also run a retake setup for brackets. Let's say the T's have brackets currently. You can have your pit player throw a flash for you to reaggress. It's better if you have a teammate with you from either Porch or Arch. However, this setup can be countered if the T's have someone playing anti-flash. Those are just some of the setups for a short. Let's now move on to utility usage. So whenever you expend grenades on mid, you have to realize what you are getting out of it. So first, you can preemptively smoke or molly top mid to discourage early aggression. But if the T's rarely aggress early, you can save the smoke for later. On the mid round, you can resmoke brackets while your arch player rotates to help B. Likewise, you can use it to delay as you wait for reinforcements. Aside from smoking or resmoking top mid, you can also hold onto your smoke for late round use. If you are giving up brackets and playing from a site, a well-timed smoke like this can massively disrupt a short hit. In addition, if the T's are about to push brackets based on their grenades and sound cues, it is sensible to drop a counter molly or grenade like this. So when they smoke arch, you instantly drop the molotov. This delays their attack for another 7 seconds. If they do want to push through, they'll be attacking all that molotov damage. You can fight while this counter molly is burning, or you can use it to delay for rotates. Though sometimes, the T's will fake the mid-aggression to bait out grenades. If you do notice this tendency, try to be more thrifty with your utility. Okay, so that concludes my in-depth guide to holding short A on Inferno. Thanks to everyone for watching this video. Comment down below on what spot or role you would like to see next. If you enjoyed and learned from this video, feel free to follow me on my socials. Links will be in the description. With that, thanks again, and I'm a head out.